Slow news week. Rachel Reeves is ruining the economy. David Lammy's ruining the judicial system. Trump is kicking out third world migrants. There's so much to come. Get excited for the Saturday Five.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a wet end towards Saturday, but as we head towards the second half of the weekend, it will feel much brighter and a lot more sunnier as well. But for the rest of the day and into the evening, we do have this low pressure system which is continuing to move its way out towards the North Sea. So we do still have persistent rain for northern England, where we do still have a yellow weather warning in force for the next few hours. But as this rain does pull away, the winds across the northeastern coast here will start to pick up and will feel rather strong. We could even see some coastal gales through the early hours of a Sunday morning. But for elsewhere, it will feel rather cold under those clearer skies. Temperatures starting to fall away, and we could see some widespread frost across much of England and Wales into the early hours of a Sunday morning. So like I said, it will be a crisp start. Some nice clear skies, just a few clouds across Wales as well, and a few showers just towards the northern coast of Northern Ireland. But we could even see some icy stretches across Scotland, maybe even some snow showers across the Grampians and across those northern coast as well. And with that northerly wind, it will feel rather cold to start Sunday as well. But once the sun does come up, it will be a bright day to come, a lot more settled than what we saw on Saturday. So some bright sunshine, maybe just a few showers across those western coasts as well. And it will start to turn a little bit more cloudy across Northern Ireland as this weather system does slowly start to move in. But temperatures around those mid to low single figures, so it will feel rather cold tomorrow compared to what we saw on Saturday. And as we go through the afternoon and evening, this weather front will continue to move its way in, bringing some more cloud and some outbreaks of rain, and it will start to feel rather windy as well. So as we start the new month and start the new season, it will be unsettled, but temperatures for December will just start above average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the greatest cash prize of the Great British Giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name is Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Will Kingston, along with Dr. Renee Honderkamp, Trey Lowe. He was gone and now he returns. Adam Cherry, and of course Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show, Trump's right. If you import the third world, you get the third world.
Rachel Reeves is just gaslighting us.
This zombie government has no mandate to govern.
Attack the frail, spend life in jail.
Angie's coming home. She's coming home. She's coming.
Enough. The ratings are dipping already. It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we want to know your views as well. Send them through gbnews.com/your say. Before I go any further, we have someone who was lost, but now he is found. Adam decided to make a little return, did we? Feeling like you know, missing GB a bit.
I warned you this day would come. The day of reckoning is here. I am back. Very pleased to be here. I had a 7-month sabbatical. Now I've returned.
Yeah. Generally, I don't treat traitors kindly, but I will make an exception this evening. Don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five. No topics are off limits. And, of course, vote in the poll today. We are asking 3 cracking questions, which, of course, are not in the auto cue, so I can't quite remember them. But before we start tearing each other apart, ladies and gentlemen, it's your Saturday night news with the wonderful Sophia Wensler.
Good evening. Your headlines at 6 o'clock. Labour's biggest union donor has launched an attack on Rachel Reeves' budget for breaking promises to workers. That's according to reports in the Telegraph newspaper. The General Secretary of Unite, Sharon Graham, told the newspaper that the watering down of the Employment Rights Bill meant that working people were now unable to trust Labour. It comes as the city watchdog is facing calls to investigate whether the Treasury misled the public over the size of the fiscal gap Rachel Reeves faced ahead of announcing the budget. Meanwhile, the Chancellor has defended her budget as fair and necessary. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch says she should be sacked. Elsewhere, your party has denied Zara Sultana's claims that it's got a toxic culture and her suggestion she's being pushed out. It's after the Coventry South MP boycott day one of the meeting over the expulsion of some members of left-wing groups. Ms Sultana met with party members outside the ACC today, but said she will not enter the main conference centre in protest at a witch hunt. In other news, Ukrainian delegates are heading to the US to continue negotiations of proposals to end its war with Russia. Reports suggest Donald Trump could recognise occupied Ukrainian territories as Russian in his bid to broker peace between the two countries. A US team are expected to hold discussions in Moscow next week. Donald Trump has said airspace above and surrounding Venezuela should be considered closed as the threat of US airstrikes intensifies. It comes amid growing tensions between the US president and Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, whom Trump has accused of involvement in drug trafficking, which he denies. The US does not legally have the authority to close another country's airspace, but Trump's post could lead to travel uncertainty and deter airlines from operating there. Now, the man arrested in connection with the terrorist attack at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue will be held for a further 7 days. It's after a warrant of further detention was granted, meaning he can now be held until Thursday, the 4th of December. The man was arrested at Manchester Airport on Thursday, the 27th of November, on suspicion of commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. And playwright Sir Tom Stoppard, who won an Oscar and a Golden Globe for the screenplay for Shakespeare in Love, has died at the age of 88. The Czech-born British screenwriter passed away peacefully at his Dorset home. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
It's Saturday night and you are with the Saturday 5. Over the next 3 hours, the biggest debates, the hottest topics and the most entertaining interviews and, of course, your questions. Dr Renee has just put a question in front of me from Jeff White immediately, and it's a question for Kai. Kai, can you tell us what the Welsh rugby score was?
Oh, I don't know, but I saw on... We've got screens out there showing the GB news site, and it said something like destroyed. So I sort of tuned out at that point. Boo, boo hiss, don't bother. Switch off.
As an Australian rugby fan, it may be a tad hypocritical of me to be getting stuck into Kai there.
I assume rugby's not coming home.
No blanges.
That's right. We've got a wonderful panel tonight. Obviously, we've got rid of Alex, which is a win. That's right. You were at the Lib Dem conference. That must have been a warm and fuzzy and nice and lovely feeling event the other day.
It was brilliant. It was inspirational. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I noticed that you didn't mention a single policy there that they came up with. But nonetheless, I'm sure it felt very lovely and there were great canapes, duck pancakes and all that sort of stuff.
Vegan duck.
Vegan duck pancakes, yes. All right, enough of this banter. Let's crack on with tonight's first debate. I'll be kicking us off. It's a debate which originates in the United States in tragic circumstances, which many of you will now be aware of. 2 National Guard soldiers in Washington, D.C. were shot by an Afghan migrant. Well, he was given American citizenship after working with the American Army for 10 years in the war in Afghanistan. As a result of that, and I'm reminded of that wonderful line, I think it was from Bukele, the El Salvadorian president, "You can just do things." Trump has paused all asylum claims immediately. He has used the term which some will say politically correct, particularly from the third world. And this is common sense. We've said this on this show, or at least I've said this on this show many times now. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to recognise that when you bring people in from a culture which is incompatible with a Western liberal democracy, it is more likely that it is going to lead to violence. It is more likely that it is going to lead to sexual assault. It is more likely that it is going to lead to a fraying of the social fabric. We have the data to back that up now. As many of you would also know, it is at least 23 to 24 times more likely that an Afghan national arriving in the United Kingdom will commit some form of sexual violence compared to someone born in this country, according to the Centre for Migration Control. This is obvious, ladies and gentlemen, and yet whilst in the United States, they are very happy to say, if there is a problem, we are going to resolve it, and we're going to resolve it quickly. And yet in the United Kingdom, we still dither. as more women and more children are put at risk and more people cross in dinghies from Calais every single day. Why are we not following the lead of the United States, Kai?
Well, number one, can I just put you up on those facts? Because they've already been debunked.
Yep.
That stat in particular mixes up two different data sets, one from 2021 to 2023, and then one from 2024. Obviously, we've had a bunch of new Afghans come recently, or lots of the nationalities covered in those stats, and then the crime stats are different. Anyway,
we don't know how many, thanks to...
Lots of the things that Trump has said in his statement are not things that are compatible with actually the majority view of British people. Now, of course, we do need to have a conversation about different cultures and about the way that immigration has changed in recent years. But to denaturalise migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, to call for remigration, which I note that you haven't quite done, but Trump certainly has, British people don't want that, Will. That's an extremist position. You can have a conversation about cultures, different cultures coming into this country, without going to using one crime and extrapolating that to say pretty much to ban all people from certain countries, tar them all with the same brush, which you people keep saying that you don't want to do, but that is the effect of what you're saying.
You people keep saying that British people don't want this. How do you know that, Kai?
Well, polling, fairly regularly done.
Polling that really has proven over the last 5 years since Brexit, I think, to be completely confounded and wrong most of the time, because people are shy about those views. If people didn't want to see some action, at least, reform would not be where they are.
And also, Kai,
not this kind of action, not the kind of action that Trump is taking.
Kai, you say every week that Reform is a single-issue party, and it's a single-issue party based around immigration.
I said that.
And as a result of that, they are up by 15 points. Kai just said this is one isolated attack. It may be in America. Well, it's not in America, but we've seen several attacks in the United Kingdom now. Adam, this is a trend. Do you think that there are certain cultures which are incompatible with Western liberal democracies like the United Kingdom?
Possibly. There are certainly people within those cultures who shouldn't be here and often are, like we've just been discussing. The problem is, even if Labour ministers take or use robust language on it, they're backbenchers. I'm talking specifically, of course, about Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. She talks tough, and then suddenly the backbenchers start angling to dilute these policies. And I think even if she has the political will herself to get this sort of stuff through in a more nuanced way than perhaps the White House will, the Labour Party is not going to stomach it.
I mean, actually, I'm sure Will's going to pick up on it, but your say is now full of people telling you are wrong, and rich people do want that. But there's one that's actually a little bit bigger than that, from Susan, who says that filling the country with men from barbaric, medieval cultures is a disaster, and unless we get a grip, we're done.
Yeah. I want to push back on this language. Barbaric, medieval cultures.
They stone women to death, not women.
Okay, I know this is going to trigger people, but Western countries actually go and change the whole regime of countries. Is the West barbaric?
Right, we're talking about here.
No, but still, you're talking about importing people into the country that cause harm. But you're talking about some of these countries who've had people come to their countries and cause them harm. You can't keep calling people barbaric and from barbaric countries. These are a couple of individuals. America has some serious issue with domestic violence. Way more violent than the people that they import.
Do we stone women to death for not wearing the clothes that we want?
Tell me what cultures specifically do that. And what parts of it? Okay, all of Afghanistan and certain sectors. In the same way you've got sectors of British culture that also treats women not that great. Does this country not have violence against women by homegrown men?
Pause for a second.
And it's not defending those people, it's the language. Barbaric, and then even things like the third world. For a long time, people call them the global south or developing countries. This third world thing is a superiority built in. We're the first world. First world, second world, third world.
It's politeness around language that led to things like the grooming gangs because we decided that we were going to just avoid them and we were going to be politically correct. I'll give you an example. In Somalia, do you know how many women suffer female genital mutilation?
Do you really care about those women?
Yes, I do care about
genuinely, or is it something that is used to be a culture that you don't agree with? That's the difference. Because
stop for a second. I'll answer that question because you didn't. 99% of women between the ages of 15 and 40 in Somalia have their clitorises cut off as a result of female genital
Which is a horrendous
mutilation.
practice.
It's barbaric.
It's barbaric.
It is barbaric.
But I tell you what else.
And if you're going to try and tell me that we can't say that that culture is barbaric, and if you're going to try and tell me that that culture is somehow on a level footing with the United Kingdom, that is a disgrace.
So you think 1 million people being killed in Iraq on a war that was fought on false pretenses isn't barbaric for the people who suffered
You're
it?
missing the point.
Both things can be bad.
We are talking about bringing people who believe in things that we find barbaric to live amongst us. Entirely different, Trey.
Renee.
You are just
Okay, great.
mixing things
Can I
up.
ask something just to say? These points are really valid, right? A blanket ban would mean that people trying to escape those kinds of cultures would fear
also
that kind
get
of
caught out.
repression. Wouldn't have a safe haven in places like the UK and the US.
Many of whom are winning.
If you actually had a look at the dinghies that are coming over from Calais, you would recognise that's not the case.
Okay, that's the 4%. But for a lot of people coming over, like my wife, she's a woman, not causing any harm to anyone. Is she barbaric? Just because she's from a Muslim country?
These are the only arguments you have every week. A, we've bombed Iran, and B, your wife is, a migrant. Well, I'm sure your wife is lovely. I'm not criticising her. But right now, I want to shut the doors and sort our lives out here.
And the second argument is they've come through several safe countries before they've got to the United Kingdom. They will be safe from the war-torn areas. Again, your arguments are 20 years out of date, but the 20-year-old wars that apparently they are fleeing from. That is the issue. Adam, what are your thoughts?
As a general principle, Trey, do you think some cultures are better than others? Let's not mention specific ones, but do you think
it depends on how you're measuring it, right?
Well, some cultures think that it's acceptable to leave children out overnight and let them, if they survive the cold temperatures, they're tough enough to be part of the tribe.
True, but
is that in principle? That's
true, but there are also some
morally
cultures who
defensible.
do think it's okay to go to other countries and bomb them to bits. This is what I'm saying. What Kai just said is very true. You're then going to blanket a whole group of people based on the crimes of one or two people. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely screening. Proper screening of the people coming to this country. Absolutely understanding that some people are dangerous, but everyone that gets targeted with the same brush?
How do you screen someone who's been brought up believing that we, infidels, need to be killed at some point?
First, by understanding that not everyone there that's coming from these countries is engaged in these crimes.
I'm not sure which is a more tangential segue, Trey's intrusion into that discussion or how I'm going to try and get to the Great British Giveaway. But I'm going to give it my best shot. We don't have a four-berth motorhome anymore, and geez, I love that four-berth motorhome, but this prize may be even better. It's your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours in the new year. How amazing would that be? It's like having over 7,000 extra in your bank account each month. I did that maths myself on the spot for the whole of 2026. You really should be our biggest cash winner. Here's all the details that you need.
It's the greatest cash prize of a Great British Giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Whilst we would no doubt be shut down by Ofcom, I sometimes think that if we just broadcast what was said during the breaks, it would actually be more entertaining than Adam, what have you got for us coming up after the interlude?
Well, look, so this manifesto of the Labour government is barely a year old, but it's already been torn to shreds, so I'm saying they no longer have any mandate to govern.
Hear, hear. You're with the Saturday 5, live on the People's Channel, GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, where during the break I'm being called an authoritarian in the way that I'm trying to get this group in order, and sometimes authoritarianism is needed with this lot. Look, as the host tonight, I'm doing my level best to try and present balance. But unfortunately, having looked at your say, it is very, very difficult to find balance in the responses. And unfortunately, the overwhelming support is for the right side of this table. And I can't actually see the exact comment, but it went along the lines of, Trey, you cannot compare a war with cultural practices. There are just wars. There's a theory of just war. Now, we can argue about whether or not going to Iraq or Afghanistan was done on the right or the wrong pretenses, but that is a false argument to compare cultural practices to a war. How would you respond to that?
I wouldn't say so. I think it's very easy when you're not from one of these so-called barbaric countries to just label and not see any nuance in it. But there actually is nuance in that. What that guy did is wrong. I'm not defending it, but this blanket generalisation of entire countries, third world, barbaric, not compatible, it's just wrong. You have to start seeing nuance in all of these arguments. That's how I'd counter that.
It's nuance that got in the state we're in.
Neil Norfolk says, Trey, underage sex, stoning of adulteresses and gays and castration of trans people doesn't really require much nuance. I think Neil said it pretty well. Keep getting those comments in, particularly when they are so obviously right. gbnews.com/yoursay. Also get your questions in for Ask the Five in the third hour. No topics are off limits. gbnews.com/yoursay. your say. Going crazy so far. Now it's time for our next debate, and I would say, in the most positive sense, the returning Adam Cherry, maybe slightly more negative, the slightly traitorous Adam Cherry. In either case, a wonderfully talented young man. What have you got for us?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, well, look, do you remember that Labour manifesto? It seems like 100 years ago, but actually it was just over 12. It was only about 2 or 3 pages long and contained, I think, 2 or 3 policies on each of those pages. But it is absolutely worthless now. Look at what has been implemented by this government since then. Chagos, the winter fuel hokey-cokey yo-yo. Of course, the budget, which Renee's going to go into, and all the fun that Rachel Reeves had last week and indeed last year as well. But the point is, that manifesto has been totally and utterly shredded. Even in the last couple of days, you see, in fact, one policy that was in the manifesto, which was to do with Angela Rayner's employment rights bill. God help us. But anyway, they've already U-turned on a part of that policy as well. So what does this Labour government stand for? Does it even have a mandate? I would argue it doesn't. I would argue that given all of the policies they've implemented in the last 12 months have been cooked up on the hoof, and now they're talking about throwing Starmer to the walls and getting a new leader in, if that happens, they'll have to go to the country and have a general election. They will have absolutely no mandate. This is a zombie government putting one foot in front of the other, trying not to stumble over and failing at every turn.
Kai, everything that Adam's just said is absolutely true. How can we trust this government ever again?
No, everything Adam just said is completely nonsense. I'm sorry. I like you a great deal, but look, a manifesto is neither a crystal ball, nor is it meant to be some sort of encyclopedic litany of all the policies that one might ever envisage implementing in government.
No, but it's a blueprint.
And also, you started with, do you remember the Labour manifesto? Who outside of wonks and nerds really reads manifestos? That aside, because it's an important point that the government is, after all, in name elected on this manifesto. Full fact is monitoring delivery on pledges that Labour has made in the manifesto. Has 86 pledges. Do you know how they're doing? They're doing quite well. Okay. 18 achieved, 16 appear on track, 21 in progress, 3 not kept, right? 3 not kept.
What were they, Kai?
How does that square up? How does that square up with your claim that they have no mandate and we need to go to a general election? Unprecedented.
Well, look, Renee's going to talk about the budget a little bit more, but I seem to remember Rachel Reeves and indeed the entire then shadow cabinet saying they will not raise taxes on working people. And what does that mean? They will not raise...
That's one of the 3.
That's one of the 3, which is kind of a big one, isn't it? They would not raise income tax, VAT or national insurance. They did that last year with national insurance. They've now done that this year with the income tax freeze on the thresholds.
But
I wouldn't have liked to do it.
Where in the manifesto was digital ID? Where in the manifesto was the change to inheritance tax and the farming taxes? Where in the manifesto was anything on the winter fuel allowance? OK, they eventually U-turned on that when they realised it was politically disastrous. But none of this was told to the country.
And Renee, I'll bring you in on this, but you've been disingenuous there, Kai, because you've said it can't be a crystal ball, and I agree. There may be policies that you may need to introduce due to circumstance. Events, but that's very events, dear boy, events. But that's very different to putting something into a manifesto and then breaking that promise. That is a fundamentally different thing which they have done. Renee, your thoughts?
So I think what Labour is showing us actually is that manifestos should be legally binding. That's what I really think. I think what they say in their manifesto should be legally binding. Anything they want to do that's radical and big, digital ID is massive. They should not be allowed to do it if they didn't get voted in to do it, because no one voted for it. So that's what I think about this. And they are breaking it in so many ways. And for me, the biggest one is the not taxing working people. Because firstly, most people are working people, regardless of whether that job is Bill Gates or, you know, the milkman.
It's a nonsense. It's a nonsense phrase.
Trey, you still vaguely believe in capitalism, don't you? What do you
What's that?
You still vaguely believe in capitalism, don't you? What do you make of all of
Do you know what I make of it? Honestly, I think this was probably the most political budget they could ever do. I think it's all about saving their own necks, isn't it? I think it's about, you know, being OK with the Labour backbenches. It's kind of like an all things for all people. That's what this was. And in many ways, and it might not be great what I'm going to say, in many ways, people like us are responsible. Because I think Labour probably got to the point wherever we go, we're going to get absolutely hammered. So they're trying to please all people as much as possible so they can stay in power. That's what this budget is. It wasn't for the people. It was for them, essentially.
In fairness, Adam, there may actually be something to that, in that it is incredibly hard to argue for spending cuts in 2025 across any Western democracy, but it is blatantly obvious that this country is going broke. How can you argue for spending cuts in this day and age?
Very easily.
Really easily.
If you return spending levels to pre-pandemic, particularly on welfare, you save, I think, don't quote me, but at least 30 to 40 billion. Let's start with that.
But where would the hammer fall? That's the problem. Where would the axe fall?
It would be, you'd have to massively reform universal credit. You'd have to look at PIP. They tried to do that. They tried to shave $5 billion.
Exactly. They tried. That's the problem.
No. They tried, but they didn't face these invincible forces that defeated them. They faced their own backbenchers.
Look, I agree with you that welfare spending needs to be cut massively. The Labour government has failed on that because of its own backbenchers, who are not of my tribe of the left, right? But saying, oh, you can cut spending really easily, that, in recent months and years even, has just proven to be much more difficult than even Donald Trump, Elon Musk and Reform's own council leaders have set it out to be. They claim to be able to cut spending and they never succeed. It's more difficult.
1,500 people a day are signing on now for universal credit. 1,500 people a day.
I agree. The prognosis we agree on.
Where are all these disabled people? Because I don't see them in the streets. I don't see them even in my GP surgery. Where are they? They're on their sofa and they need to get off. And the biggest incentive to going to work is not having any money.
Trade.
No, I've done it.
Trey, do you think that over 1 million non-citizens should be on benefits in the United Kingdom?
No, absolutely not when you say it like that, but there's lots of different reasons why they actually are. I mean, and you have a lot of people actually working on universal credit. People always assume that everyone on universal credit isn't actually in work. Their money is being topped up.
What about an EU migrant?
If we are having big companies employ people that need us to top it up, then they're not paying enough. And the bill should go back to those companies.
Agreed.
Not to me.
Agreed. No, agreed.
It's a disaster. The benefits trap is an enormous problem. If it's more selfishly, it makes more sense to go on benefits than to get a low-paid job. What
it's stopped being a safety net, it's become a way of life. I think that's one of the issues.
Again, in the interest of my position as host on this panel, in the interest of balance, I will do something which will potentially frustrate many of our viewers and many on the right, and that is, it is obvious that the triple lock is economically unsustainable.
Absolutely.
Renee, do you think that the triple lock should be scrapped?
No, I don't. And I'm sick and tired of a government that makes decision to spend billions, Shagos, benefits, day in, day out, net zero, carbon capture, and throwing out old people to the wolves. Before we had the triple lock, we had more old people living in poverty than any other country in Europe.
I agree that there is lower hanging fruit than the triple lock. I think that is fair. But Adam, do you think the triple lock is sustainable in the long term?
No, it's not. It is not. 25% of pensioners are millionaires. That's a simple fact.
Because of their houses, Adam.
And it still matters.
No, it doesn't.
Dr. Renee, it still matters. Cry me a river.
You are cruel.
I'm sorry. Stating that 25% of pensioners being millionaires is gross inequality.
It's totally unsustainable.
And I said to you about a woman who might be living in her family home where she's raised her children, heading towards Alzheimer's, and you said to me, she'll have to sell her house. You're cruel.
I did not.
Well,
you did say that.
It's a hard one.
I will try and bring a bit of Christmas cheer into the conversation, because this Christmas we really are putting on something special at GBNews. I've had this on my calendar all year. It will be the highlight of the season, and we want lots of you there too. Saturday, 13th of December, you're invited to join the GBNews family for Carols by Candlelight concert. For your chance to be with us, you can apply for tickets by scanning the QR code on the screen right now, or by going to gbnews.com/carols. Isn't that amazing technology, by the way? You can get your phone out and just get a ticket to what will be, I think, arguably one of the greatest events of all time. And I don't think that's hyperbolic. This concert will be broadcast on Christmas Eve. Get excited. Trey, what have you got coming up for us?
So I've got the story about the bloke, I shouldn't even be nice about him, who was sentenced for causing the death of a pensioner. That's what's coming up. Coming up straight to advert?
That'll be coming up after the break. You're with the People's Channel live on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, it is actually looking fairly unsettled across parts of Europe and definitely cooler than usual. Across the Canary Islands, a risk of showers throughout the weekend and into next week. Temperatures around 18 or 19 degrees. A little bit cooler than usual across parts of Spain and Italy, just around 12 or 14 degrees. And some wet weather is pushing into parts of Greece. But actually, more eastern areas of Greece should stay relatively dry, so plenty of sunshine to come for Santorini. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The rain that we've seen through this afternoon is beginning to clear, and we will start to see some clearer skies as we head through the overnight period. And it will be a chilly one to come, but the rain that we've seen through today is because of this low pressure system, and it is slowly tracking its way towards the North Sea. It will still be quite windy across these northeastern coasts. We could still potentially see some coastal gales for a time as it does move into the early hours of Sunday morning. But elsewhere, clearer skies to come. We even have an ice warning for northern England as those temperatures will start to fall away under those clearer skies. But even away from this, we could see some frosty patches towards southern England through the early hours of Sunday morning. But for the second half of the weekend, it is going to be a pretty bright and crisp start. Once the sun does rise, there will be some nice, bright, clear skies across southern England as well. Like I said, it will be a cold start for northern England, some icy stretches, so do take care if you are looking to travel around first thing. And we still have some wintry showers across the northern half of Scotland as well. Where here, it can still be rather cold and likely to see some icy patches first thing in the morning. But through the day, that bright sunshine will continue for much of the UK. Those showers out towards those northeastern coasts will continually push their way off, and we could potentially just see some showers drifting in towards the western coast as well. All eyes will then turn towards this weather system out towards the west, but otherwise a chilly day to come. Most places around those mid-single figures for the end of the weekend. Now, much change on Monday. A large pressure system has moved in, and we do have a couple of rain warnings as well. Yellow across northwestern England, but an amber rain warning for southern Wales as well. So do take care first thing during the week. So an unsettled start to December, but for temperatures, they are slightly above average for the new season.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You are back with the Sunday 5 live on the People's Channel from the GB News studios in London, England. We've got a few comments coming in. My favourite personally is from Grace Seal. I'm convinced we need a neurologist on the program to explain just how the lefties' brains actually work. I find them baffling. With that as a segue, Trey, what have you got for us?
Well, I've got something that the righties, I think, will actually quite agree with me, but who knows? Let's see. So, look, if you violently attack or murder an elderly person, you are targeting someone who cannot possibly defend themselves. These crimes are not opportunistic, they're predatory. And right now, the sentencing doesn't reflect the moral gravity of that. So I'm saying that if you deliberately target the elderly with violence, the starting point shouldn't be life or 10 or 20 years, whatever they call it. It should be whole life. you forfeit the rest of your life. We already give whole life orders to terrorists and to serial killers. And because we recognise the moral outrage of that, it makes absolute sense. Well, attacking the elderly belongs in that category, in my opinion. These are people who built the country. These are people who have given for decades to this country. These are people who have served this country. And I believe that their dignity, we owe them dignity, we owe them respect, and we owe them love. So it's as simple as this. If you attack the frail, you go to jail for life, and that is full life. What do you guys think?
I don't disagree with that, Adam, but why not go further? Would you reintroduce the death penalty for people like this?
I mean, we could talk about that for hours. Probably, I think I'm against the death penalty overall. Overall, I don't like the idea of the state having that sort of power. But again, look, that's not necessarily.
I thought I'd throw a curveball. What do you make of Trey's comments?
Look, I'm not going to argue with Trey because I think that what Trey's arguing for is for us to respect our elderly, and I don't think we do that enough, as we've just seen on this panel. But I think that we don't. What it really comes home to is the fact that we do not punish serious crimes enough anyway. We see rapists get on average like 2 years if they even get convicted. We see 75% of people with child porn that they're distributing walk free, not even go to prison. So it comes down to our judicial system. We need to punish people properly.
Absolutely.
Kai, why are we so soft on people who commit actual violent crime, and yet you see people who commit thought crimes online who are being put in jail?
Yeah, obviously ridiculous. Lucy Connolly should never have been in prison for what she did, in particular those circumstances. Look, there's a reason why in this country that we shy away from the death penalty, and I think it's because that in our hearts we know that people who commit even the most serious, horrific crimes, and I mean horrific, this case that Trey is talking about is horrible.
It's horrible, yeah.
But we have to believe, and I think in this country we do believe that people can change, and that this man this guy who committed this crime will be 82 when he leaves prison, right? Do we completely write people off?
Well, I think there's something we can all agree on. Trey's sentiment that we do need to respect the elderly more in society is right. Renee, what have you got for us?
OK, so I'm going to talk to you about Rachel Reeves. Rachel Reeves has deceived the country yet again. And this time, I would say it's unforgivable. On the 4th of November, think about these dates, she held a press conference to warn us about a massive black hole. And she used it to justify that she was going to have to put taxes up, break her manifesto pledge by the sound of it. But here's what she didn't tell you. The OBR told her on the 31st of October, 4 days before that press conference, that actually she had £4.2 billion surplus, not a deficit, not a crisis, a surplus. So she deliberately misled the public. Why? To keep her party's hard left happy, the ones who hate wealth creators and demand more of your and my hard-earned money to give it to others, to maintain the doom and gloom narrative so that she could look like she was considering income tax hikes, then win applause for backing off. Meanwhile, real people suffer. Pensioners are afraid to put their heating on. I see them in my surgery every day. Farmers losing family businesses, working families drowning in bills they can't pay, industries collapsing in front of us. She didn't think about any of them. She thought about herself, her career, her politics, her image. When a chancellor lies repeatedly to save their own skin, they don't deserve the job. Voters aren't stupid, we're not fools, and we will not forget being treated as if we are.
Kai, your response?
Ludicrous nonsense. Look, we need politicians who are more honest. The run-up to the budget was chaotic. But this argument about Rachel Reeves misleading people requires you to believe a couple of things. One, that the effect of what she says was to lie. Well, she said the finances were screwed. What we learned is the finances are still screwed. Do you disagree with that? Obviously not. 4 billion in headroom was what she had. You require us to believe that really, if she came back with that at the budget, you all wouldn't be sitting here saying, oh, that's great. No, you'd be saying that's fiscal lack of discipline. It requires you to believe that the OBR is this oracle of wisdom, when in fact we've been talking for months about how rubbish it is. The magical thinking, what this is about is we've seen a budget where policy choices were made that you didn't like. Well, that happens every year. It's called the budget.
Do you know, I love this. I love this because you rubbish Liz Truss because she didn't go to the OBR, but now
I
the
didn't.
OBR are not that important.
No, but people have been talking about that. We've all been talking about that for ages. The OBR is a relatively new phenomenon. These quarterly reporting or whatever they're doing is a new phenomenon.
Pause for a second. Adam, I noted a quizzical look on your face as Kai was speaking. Explain that quizzical look for me.
This is political cover for a massive spending splurge that the taxpayer is going to have to foot the bill for.
It's a political choice.
Yeah, just be honest about it. Why have this weird, bizarre deer in headlights press conference in Downing Street, which is obviously setting up a fake U-turn on income tax hikes, and then, oh no, actually we don't need to do that because it turns out the conditions are totally different. But the dates don't line up. She already had that information before she called that press conference.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I agree.
Why did it exist?
I agree. The Commons, I don't really understand what happened in the run-up to the budget, honestly.
The Commons were bad and then said that she's being honest in some way.
I don't think she is. I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's not a resigning issue. I just don't. I think she's probably being a bit dishonest, but that's politics, isn't it? She exaggerated. I think to say that she lied is just sort of
Did you not
ridiculous.
just say a few minutes ago that she was basically being fundamentally honest in her representations of this budget?
No, but I just think the outrage around these things, the sort of selective outrage around the timeline of what she said when. The effect of what she said is indifferent. We know that we're in a horrible situation. She didn't use the word black hole in that 40 minutes.
By 26.
I think she was dishonest, but you know what's interesting is what Kai said. I think she was being dishonest, but that's politics, and that there is the problem that we've got in terms of leadership. That you're just okay with it. Yeah, of course she was dishonest, but it was politics. Oh well, one of those things.
The Chancellor of the seventh largest country in the world should have to resign over bad comms and being exaggerating the issue.
Bad comms. It's deliberately being dishonest. However, I think whether it was a Tory Chancellor or anyone else, they probably would have done the same in her defence.
She did this to save her skin. She did.
Of course she did.
The hard left of your party.
She made choices.
Right. And she did it to take money from taxpayers and give it to people on benefits. That's the choice she made.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're running short of time, but I do want to call this out from Bubbles Bonbon because it is a more critical comment. How dare your panel whinge about the pensioners? Myself and my wife have both worked and paid our dues since we were both 15. I'm 78, she's 75. We're still working until recently. When you consider what's being spent on illegal migrants and the foreign prisoners, it is obscene. So there is obviously a very strong sentiment that triple lock to remain in place. Kai, what have you got coming up after the break?
Oh, I'm talking about the triumphant return, yes, not of Adam Cherry, but of Angela Rayner to the cabinet.
Heaven forbid. You're with the Sunday 5 live on GBNews.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 live on the People's Channel, GB News. I do want to call out this comment because it's actually been reflected with a few people, and that is, do you people realise, and I think with the exception of Renee, how hard it was through the Thatcher years to nearly have your house stolen? There were millions of repossessions in that time.
Interest rates at 15%.
Yep. This is a very, very difficult issue because obviously there is a moral dimension to this, and no one is doubting that there are so many people out there who have worked incredibly hard, and you've got to balance that up with the fact that at the moment the country's going broke, and that for the next government will be a very, very difficult challenge.
Do you know what the difference is? When my interest rate went to 15%, I couldn't afford to eat if I wanted to carry on paying my childcare and my mortgage, so I didn't. I lived on yoghurt and apples for a year. Now, in today's world, people think that that's not acceptable and I shouldn't have had to do that. It didn't kill me. It got me through a bad time.
Too many kids eating avocado on toast. Kai, what have you got for us?
I'm not sure that there's a segue from avocado to Angela Rayner, but...
Well, green is her best colour.
Green is her best colour. Let's go with that. Yes, Angela Rayner is coming home, as you heard earlier. Aubrey Allegretti in The Times is talking about rumours that Angela Rayner is plotting her return to the cabinet. It comes after last week. Keir Starmer said he'd welcome that. Angela Rayner is she's sort of not going to be blasting the Labour government on their sort of U-turn on workers' rights. However, she is planning a series of interventions early next year on child poverty, on the cost of living. Now, I think Angela Rayner has taken time to take stock. She's put the cash aside to pay the stamp duty that she owed and the fine that she expects. And I expect she's had time with her family too. Now, I won't bore you with that whole working-class single woman rubbish because I think the left love to do that and it doesn't matter at all. This is what matters. Rayner told the Cabinet over the summer this, that economic insecurity, the rapid pace of deindustrialisation, immigration, its impact on communities, technological change, time spent online is all fraying the social fabric. She gets it. She's a politician who gets it in an era where most of them actually don't. Workers' rights reforms are some of the most popular policies that this Labour government has implemented. She shoots from the hip and I think would go toe-to-toe with Farage. So welcome back, Angela Rayner. What do you think?
Adam, I don't even need to think up a question here because Paddy Barrett's made one for me. Rayner was forced to resign in disgrace a matter of months ago. If she's the best they have and can't find anyone better, what does that say about the Labour Party today?
Well, it says quite a lot, doesn't it? It says the talent pool is about 3 inches deep. But I mean, I'm excited for her to come back as well. It'd be fantastic. She wants a cabinet job so she can depose Starmer and become the next leader. That's what the whole game is here. She doesn't want to just come back and become levelling up secretary or whatever. Sorry, Steve Reid. You know, this is what this is all about, really. I'm open to circus.
No, I want to go to Renee. Renee, do you actually think, though, that it is a realistic possibility that she could be a dark horse as a prime ministerial candidate?
100%, of course. And, you know, none of them have got any shame. So I absolutely see it happening.
Trey?
I actually think someone like Shabana Mahmood is 10 times better than I don't know why she would come back and where she would actually go. I mean, in some ways, I do agree with you, the fact that she's got that story of the single parent. I think it was a bit harsh what happened to her.
That's the exact
but it is. At least,
but
at least you can relate to it. There's relatability to her a little bit. But I don't think she's so talented that it would matter or make a difference to their fortunes.
I can honestly tell you, my backstory is no different to Angela Rayner's. I've never had to use it to get a job. Ever.
Why is it when they seem to be in trouble, and Rayner did this week when she fell back on the whole misogyny thing, when there was rumours going around the budget would be a disaster, then she basically did identity politics.
Right.
Kai, why do they just keep falling back on identity politics or class warfare when things go wrong?
Yeah, it is boring, isn't it? I don't really care where Angela Rayner's from. I don't care where Bridget Phillipson is from. I don't think actually that working class narrative works anymore in an age where the job mix is quite different. The fewer and fewer people are from what we would recognise as working class professions. And so that's a bit of a nonsense. They do tend to fall back on it all the time. And it's actually not an effective argument. What they should be pointing at is, I think, Angela Rayner speaks for a lot of people. She says her mind, and that matters. I think she takes representation. She's shown that she's pragmatic. In a government that is more right-wing in the Labour Party than she is, she's accepted some of the pragmatic choices they've had to make, even though she doesn't like them. And she went to bat for them under cabinet collective responsibility.
I'm not sure about that. But Adam, a lot of
Yeah.
people like her, and a lot of people see her as authentic.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument for her. Certainly the Labour members really like her. And she does have a kind of charmy... I mean, she was very good at the dispatch box in DPMQs. She is fun. Is she a particularly talented, skilled political operator? Well, I don't know. I mean, she's not in cabinet right now, so she can't be that good. Like I said, I would welcome her back just because it'll really ignite the dynamite under the Labour Party once again. Keeps people like me.
Keeps the journalists
Please
busy.
come back, Angela Rayner. Please come back.
Renee, final thoughts in about 15 seconds or less.
Let her come back because it will show people how chaotic they are.
I agree. I think a return for Angela Rayner would be great. Would be great entertainment for all of us. You know what else will be great entertainment for all of us? The next hour on the Saturday 5. We're going to be going through our bunches of fives. I'm not very good. It's the Australian education system. Nonetheless, before we get back for more fun, here's your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The rain that we've seen through this afternoon is beginning to clear, and we will start to see some clearer skies as we head through the overnight period, and it will be a chilly one to come. But the rain that we've seen through today is because of this low pressure system, and it is slowly tracking its way towards the North Sea. It will still be quite windy across these northeastern coasts. We could still potentially see some coastal gales for a time as it does move into the early hours of Sunday morning. But elsewhere, clearer skies to come. We even have an ice warning for northern England as those temperatures will start to fall away under those clearer skies. But even away from this, we could see some frosty patches towards southern England through the early hours of Sunday morning. But for the second half of the weekend, it is going to be a pretty bright and crisp start. Once the sun does rise, there will be some nice, bright, clear skies across southern England as well. Like I said, it will be a cold start for northern England, some icy stretches, so do take care if you are looking to travel around at first thing. And we still have some wintry showers across the northern half of Scotland as well. Where here, it can still be rather cold and likely to see some icy patches first thing in the morning. But through the day, that bright sunshine will continue for much of the UK. Those showers out towards those northeastern coasts will continually push their way off, and we could potentially just see some showers drifting in towards the western coast as well. All eyes will then turn towards this weather system out towards the west, but otherwise a chilly day to come. Most places around those mid-single figures for the end of the weekend. Now, much change on Monday. A large pressure system has moved in, and we do have a couple of rain warnings as well. Yellow across northwestern England, but an amber rain warning for southern Wales as well. So do take care first thing during the week. So an unsettled start to December, but for temperatures, they are slightly above average for the new season.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to shopping trips, yes to home improvements. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the biggest TV show on Saturday nights. It's the Saturday 5, live from the GB News studios in London, England. I'm Will Kingston. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Renee Honderkamp, Trey Lowe, Adam Cherry and Kai Wilshaw. In the second hour of our show tonight, get your questions in for Ask the Five.
We're sending a simple message to the world. If you build here, Britain will back you.
Hospitality pleads for a lifeline after Labour's budget.
Which politician did Rachel Reeves kick out of her office ahead of that budget?
Our Saturday scrap is Labour trying to reverse Brexit.
That is, again, straight out of the Labour Rights playbook. If we carry on this road, it will alienate people who want to get involved in building this party.
Yes, political genius Zara Sultana stars in this week's Trigger Tantrums.
Oh, I feel dumber just for seeing it at 7 p.m, and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome back to the People's Show on the People's Channel, the Saturday 5. Of course, we want to know your views. We read out your comments more than any other show on this channel, at least when anyone except Alex Armstrong is presenting. Just get them into gbnews.com/your say. Before we start tearing each other apart for another hour, I sometimes wonder how much tears you can actually tear something apart. Nonetheless, probably for another day. It's your Saturday Night News with Sophia Windsor.
Well, thank you. Good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock. These are your headlines. Working families will be £18,000 worse off than jobless parents claiming benefits following Rachel Reeves' abolition of the two-child cap in the budget. That's according to new analysis. The report from the Centre for Social Justice has found a family with 3 children claiming universal credit combined with other benefits will receive up to £46,000 by next year. In comparison, a family with 1 adult working full-time and another part-time on the national living wage will see a take-home earning of £28,000. It comes as the Tories have called for the Chancellor to resign after she was accused of misleading the public over the state of the country's finances, something Number 10 denies. The party has set up a website, sackreeves.com, and launched a petition urging Sir Keir Starmer to sack her. Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, said Miss Reeves had to go because honesty matters. Elsewhere, your party has denied Zara Sultana's claims that its culture is toxic and her suggestion she's being pushed out. It's after the Coventry South MP boycott day 1 of the meeting over the expulsion of some members of left-wing groups. Miss Sultana met with party members outside the ACC today, but said she will not enter the main conference centre in protest at a, quote, witch hunt.
I'm disappointed to see on the morning of our founding conference, people who have travelled from all over the country, spent a lot of money on their train fare, on hotels, on being able to participate in this conference, being told that they have been expelled. That is a culture that is reminiscent of the Labour Party, how there were witch hunts on the eve of conference.
In other news, Ukrainian delegates are heading to the US to continue negotiations of a proposal to end its war with Russia. Reports suggest Donald Trump could recognise occupied Ukrainian territories as Russian in his bid to broker peace between the two countries. A US team are expected to hold discussions in Moscow next week. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has said airspace above and surrounding Venezuela should be considered closed as the threat of US airstrikes intensifies. It comes amid growing tensions between the US president and Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro, whom Trump has accused of involvement in drug trafficking, which he denies. The US does not legally have the authority to close another country's airspace, but Trump's post could lead to travel uncertainty and deter airlines from operating there. And playwright Sir Tom Stoppard, who won an Oscar and a Golden Globe for the screenplay for Shakespeare in Love, has died at the age of 88. The Czech-born British screenwriter passed away peacefully at his Dorset home. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I can't help but just follow on from that little detail from Sophia there where Donald Trump has decided to unilaterally close Venezuela's airspace. Kai whispered to me as Sophia was doing the news report, have you actually seen Trump's tweet on the matter? I now have. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And there's capitals obviously interspersed.
I just love airlines, pilots, drug dealers, those natural bedfellows, of course.
Well, in fairness, you do. Again, that's a story for another day. Let's crack on with something far more important. That is tonight's main event. Seconds out, it is round 1. Are Labor secretly trying to reverse Brexit? It's been reported that key government officials are putting pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to rejoin the customs union or the EU itself. So, is Labor reversing Brexit? Who have we got coming up?
Let's take it. Let's go for it. Look, is this even a question? Okay, I'm so animated by this. Can't even talk. Is this even a question? I mean, look at who is running the country. Okay, look at this cabinet. All of them voted to remain. Need I remind you that the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, for now anyway, was the Brexit Secretary, or rather the shadow Brexit Secretary. And as shadow Brexit Secretary, we campaigned for a second referendum. Now, OK, he flip-flops on absolutely everything, so maybe he's a massive Brexiteer right now. But the fact is, these guys were all very, very clear, nailed their colours to the mast and have done for almost 10 years. I don't think it's very likely they're going to change now. And all you need to do is look at the language since coming into government. Every week you'll hear the journalist lobby briefings, which I sometimes have the displeasure of attending. They always say, look, we need to have a closer relationship with Europe. It's very good for our economic credibility and so on and so on, you know, yawn, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But now look at the language in just the last week specifically, actually. They're now saying, look, Rachel Reeves blaming Brexit for why she had to raise taxes by 28 billion. So I think at the next general election, if the Labour Party is still even existing by then, they will say, let's rejoin the customs union. Let's reap the economic benefits of this, milk and honey from the taps. This is in their DNA. There is not a single Brexiteer at the top table of this government, and it shows.
Well, Adam, I don't know where you're getting that from.
Getting what?
Labour is obviously not planning to secretly rejoin the European Union. The matter was settled a while ago. What is happening, of course, as any reasonable government would do, is informal discussions, as were reported in number 10, where different people are putting forward different opinions. One saying, some saying that we should be re-entering the customs union, this sort of limited way of having a bit of a closer relationship with Europe, certainly not the full fat version. Some are saying, yes, some are saying second referendum. But then, of course, there are others who are absolutely appalled at that ridiculous notion and appalled these conversations are happening at all. Now, I don't see this happening, but of course, at some point, because growth is almost non-existent, Keir Starmer may, or a future government may, have to grapple with the fact that we're still not, in any way, shape or form, we're approximating anything close to what we have had before in terms of relationship with Europe. I'm not saying let's go back into the EU, but the sheer loss of export-import with our closest economic partner, the largest economy in the world, you know, the decline of industrial relations at a time when we need to be close with them. On defence, we're closer to them than ever before. I think there'll be a reckoning where we say, yes, maybe let's rejoin the customs union. Let's certainly get closer to Europe. It's common sense. It's good governance.
Adam, I'll give you a right of reply before opening it up to the panel.
Well, look, I don't understand why we think rejoining the EU... Have you seen the growth rates of France, Germany and significant players in Europe? It's absolutely terrible. What advantage is there to rejoining this?
US might not be better. Well, no, I think these trade deals we're doing with... the reason I don't think we'll join the customs union, at least in the short term, is, of course, those trade deals that we've managed to mint with the likes of India in recent months. That is a good reason to have come out of the EU. In future, that will be the subject of negotiations if we do enter a customs union. But look, I think that's where growth will have to come from, the closer relationships with allies that we can trust and who share our values.
We almost agree. The point is that the people who have the ear of the Prime Minister are massively in favour of, at the very least, getting much cosier with Europe, therefore accepting dynamic alignment, accepting EU laws on the statute books, rejoining, tethering ourselves to this sclerotic organisation that has absolutely no growth. And I don't understand how us tethering ourselves back to it again will make any difference.
And Renee, that is a fundamental point in that the overwhelming majority of the current government does not believe in the Brexit project. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it, Adam, that actually, if you look at Europe, it is a failing superstate. Germany, who is really the funder of Europe now, because after we went, they were all reliant on Germany, is doing really, really economically badly. France is a disaster. They just structure things slightly differently so it doesn't look quite so bad. And yet we want to tether ourselves to there. And what scares me about that is we have shown ourselves, or this current government has, I don't lump myself in with this, perhaps they should have me as their negotiator. They have shown themselves to be the most useless negotiators who ever existed. In fact, they don't really know what the word means. Absolutely. So the thought of them actually negotiating us to rejoin it is scary. I mean, the first thing I would have done in any negotiation would I would have withdrawn all fishing licences and then said, now let's talk about how you're going to get them back.
Yeah, what I think is that Brexit was voted for, but it actually hasn't been implemented well. Trey, what do you make of this? Do you think that the Brexit project has failed, or do you think it just needs to be done better?
I think it should have been done better. But again, when it came to that whole thing, I think one of the reasons why Europe is failing is the war in Ukraine. I think there's no leadership there. That is, I mean, Germany's industrial base was decimated by the fact they didn't have access to cheaper energy. I know, but it's one of the things. But the reason why I mention that is there's not much leadership around it. For them, it would be like a forever war. No one's doing anything about it. That's my only thing. But we have lost things like frictionless trade. We have lost the fact that they are the biggest trading partners that we have. It's a hard one. We can't go back because we've had a referendum, but you do have to concede that we are probably a bit poorer as a result.
UK growth, according to your favourite, the OBR.
The UK has created more unilateral trade relationships than any other country in the world in the last 24 months. Why do you need to be part of some undemocratic union as opposed to just building bilateral trading relationships with individual countries?
I mean, look, you could argue that if they were actually within it and were leading it, they would have had favourable conditions. At the moment, the UK, to a certain extent, is relying on some of the goodwill from Trump. You know, Trump could have told us anything, we would have had to have swallowed it. That's the truth. We are not a massive economic global power at all anymore, and we do have to take what we're given to a certain extent. But I don't think we should go back to Europe in that way unless somehow things become a lot more transparent and the leadership just elevates in some way, shape, or form.
But what about a customs union? Not in that way, not back to, not hocking ourselves to the sclerotic superstate that Renee mentions, but what about getting exports and imports back to control? Keir Starmer said in that speech in May where he reset relations, 21% drop in exports, 7% drop in imports. I mean, surely, even if there is anemic growth in Europe, which I agree with you there is, that's still a huge proportion of the market that we're now missing out on.
Well, what concessions are they going to extract in exchange for return to the customs duty?
Well, apparently they're the worst negotiators ever, but as Will just told us, they've struck more trade deals in the last 24 months than any other country.
Not with Europe, they haven't.
Depends which government we're talking about.
Not with Europe, they haven't.
This debate has been based around economics, but really I think the Brexit project was deeper than that. It was about regaining national sovereignty. It was about being able to say that we have control over the fundamental decisions when it comes to who comes into the country, our judicial system, you know, all manner of different things.
Yeah, more people came over.
It was a debate about culture as much as a debate about immigration. Adam, what do you make about that side of this equation?
Oh, that's true. There's obviously an identity component to this, which was massive. I think the whole conversation here is why reopen these old wounds? Why go back here? It just feels like such a political misstep to reverse all this. Progress is the wrong word, but this is the bugbear of centrist dad podcaster types, and now suddenly they want to reintroduce it into the national conversation. It won't deliver the economic or social or political benefits that its proponents claim it will.
Do you think people are a little bit misled? This whole thing about regaining our sovereignty, now you've got more people coming on boats than ever. Do you think that wasn't just used as something
Will just said to get control of judges and immigration, two things that we've failed to
hasn't happened.
It gave us the capacity to be able to do that. It didn't mean that we implemented that correctly.
It didn't unlock that by default. It required political will, which was lacking.
The boat situation, everybody said, oh, it's because we've left Europe and we haven't got the Dublin Agreement. We actually only managed to send back 79 people under the Dublin Agreement, and we received 400 plus. So the Dublin Agreement didn't work in that way, so losing it was not a loss. Second to that, if you actually look at boat arrivals in Italy who are in the EU, they go like this as well. But it's nothing to do with being in Europe. We have to sort our borders out. We managed to do it in the war. We didn't let the Germans come across the channel, did we?
So what do you want to do? Spitfires and hurricane, taking dinghies out of the water?
The last time I checked, Australia wasn't part of the European Union and they sorted their borders out pretty effectively. So I think this is a bit of a red herring. Do you think there is a realistic prospect, Trey, of a referendum on Brexit again in the next decade?
No.
Does anyone?
No.
It would be a very brave government that tried
not
that.
At all.
Even if
not going to happen.
Like it might go back.
I'd imagine what you see is a Labour government smuggle in lots of cosy EU.
But the one thing one counterpoint I would make is that this is a disastrous government. Everything is going wrong. If you were trying to change the narrative, it could be an interesting strategic ploy to try and change the narrative.
I think they've changed the narrative with this budget, to be fair. I think they've divided people. I said to Adam in the break, I think what this budget has done is it's divided us into a big state, lots of benefits over here, small state, people actually work hard and look after themselves.
Well, I could have said it myself, and I'm going to change the narrative once again because it's time for the Great British Giveaway now. I am just stunned at how we keep upping the prizes every single time we do this. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash. I don't know how we got that past Rachel Reeves. Somehow we have. It could be yours in the new year. How amazing would that be? Once again, my maths, I'm just trying to work it out. It would be like having over £7,000 extra in your bank account each month for the whole of 2026. It could be yours. It could be the biggest cash. You could be the biggest cash prize winner in our history. Here's all the details you need.
It's the greatest cash prize of the Great British Giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I think some people occasionally can be a bit cynical. Well, if there's so many people in these sorts of competitions, I'll never win. But I just heard to my left that Dr. Renee won the lottery last week. How much did you win last night, Dr. Renee?
£6.40.
It all helps in Starmers Britain, I'll tell you that much. Still come tonight, Britain's hospitality industry says it's had enough, claiming the Chancellor's budget has left business fighting for survival. One restaurateur joins us next.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 on the People's Channel, GB News. Please get in contact with us at gbnews.com/your say. Remember to get your questions in for Ask the 5. If you could possibly put in Ask the 5 before you put your question in, that would be incredibly helpful for us. We've got a comment here from Julie Williams. Hi, Big Willie. As an aside,
I'm assuming she's speaking about me.
Yeah, the ghost of Darren Grimes continues to haunt me. Dr. Renee is absolutely right again. We have already given away our fishing rights and betrayed our fishermen while France exports illegal migrants over the channel every day. We must stay out of Europe and take advantage of our freedom, which we have not done yet. Well said, Julie.
Can I say one thing about the fishing industry thing, right? Because on the one hand, I do think that there are certain critically important industries that we need to safeguard, and fishing is one of those. But I don't understand quite why it has this sort of huge, gold prize position in the economy of our country when OnlyFans, the company, pays more tax than the worth of the entire fishing industry combined, and yet it holds up trade deals that we do with you.
You can't eat OnlyFans videos, I imagine, is probably the simplest answer.
You could try.
We've decimated it. And it is something that France and Spain feel very, very strongly about.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are plenty of fishermen and fisherwomen, to be politically correct, who are watching the show. Love and strength to all of you, and we apologise for Kai's cruelty and heartlessness for what is a critical industry for this country. Hospitality businesses, also a critical industry for this country, are pleading for help after bearing the brunt of the Chancellor's budget on Wednesday. Rachel Reeves is accused of failing to support the Great British Pub, arguably the soul of the nation, despite promising major help in her budget. This is despite the Chancellor pledging to support the businesses.
A massive package yesterday for entrepreneurs, and half of jobs being created in Britain at the moment are by those scale-up businesses. And what I announced yesterday was making it easier for those businesses to start up, to scale up and stay in Britain, with changes to the different schemes to enable them to offer tax-free shares to their employees, to give them a break from stamp duty on shares if they list in the UK, because I want those jobs to be created here in Britain.
It was hardly convincing, was it? To discuss this, I am delighted to welcome Giancarlo Caldisi, restaurateur and cookery school owner in Berkshire. Giancarlo, thank you so much for taking the time. We are sometimes guilty of looking at budgets in a very abstract way, looking at dollars and cents on a balance sheet. How has this budget and how will this budget affect you and your business personally?
I think our industry is severely under attack. We have a few issues. We have staff issues, which because of Brexit has caused a massive problem. Then we have a price issue, which is all the goods have gone up massively, I think probably 15 to 20%. And we have a customer issue where you really cannot put everything on the customer side. I mean, customers, all of us, we go to restaurants, I go to other restaurants, and I look, my goodness, it's expensive. Then I look at I'm expensive too. And that doesn't really work very well. Now, the budget here, there's some figures. If one of my restaurants puts an extra £20,000 more expense on rates only at the end of the year, plus the national insurance, all those things that are a contributory factor of our industry going really severely under pressure. Personally, I am 73. I love my job. this is not boasting or anything. We won in Berkshire here. My restaurant won best restaurant of Great Britain, voted by Madi Stiletto. I also been given an honorary by my government just this month. That honestly, to dedication of what I do for the industry. If I put the two together, when I came here in 1974, I cannot comprehend how I got here. Seriously, it's such an honor, it's such a pressure. I've got 70 employees, sometimes 90, and I really have to, I work every day. I love working, don't get me wrong, please. There are other people, my colleagues here around the corner, they work hard too. But you are depleting our really cash basis every day, the money, by how are we going to fund the money? You come into my restaurant, before you pay £10, I have to charge you 20. You're not coming. So my charging more, depleting customers, numbers don't add up. I think, seriously, it's such a pity in this country. I've been here 51 years. I love this country, truly love it. It's amazing. We are not able to discuss, to put things into place that really matters. What matters is numbers. You need to look at the bottom line. I know you're arguing, Brexit, no Brexit, we go in or go out. That matters to a point. Yes, we lost business, I agree. But now with this budget, we're losing our livelihood. Are you serious? Are you serious? Please look in the mirror. The lady talking, really, she didn't make any sense. Is that an eloquent person talking, say exactly what she means, exactly? Does she really know numbers? Does she really knows what she said? I don't think she's got a clue.
Yes,
I'm 73, and I work with great love, I promise you. But listen to that person talking. I think, I'm sorry, I'm totally defeated.
Well, it's
50 pence more minimum wage. It really, we need to genuinely go back and look what business means, because the less you take from business, the more growth you have. We cannot deplete.
Well,
I work 7 days a week.
That is spoken as someone who has actually run a business, unlike most of the Labor front bench. Am I right in saying there, Giancarlo, that you said that you wouldn't be passing on extra costs to the customers? And if that's the case, how are you?
You cannot. You cannot.
So my question is, where are you actually trying to find basically those efficiencies to basically to deal with these extra costs?
Well, if my EBITDA was the 19 or 22%, I was 9%. So really, I might as well be a manager of a restaurant, which is paid seriously lots of money. I might as well be a manager, because at the end of the day, if I do 1.5 million turnover or whatever, you look at the EBITDA, and then you pay tax and everything else. Clearly, you cannot make wages that you expect. At the end of the day, my responsibility are to the government, to the authority, to any amenity I use, to my people that I employ, which I've got people working for me for 30 years. 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm so proud, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
So my legion is with my people. My legion is with my customers, because my customers matters. They come in, they pay the money, and I distribute the money. I'm a distributor of money.
Giancarlo,
and what is left for me is really, yes.
I'm listening to you and my heart is breaking for you, especially as somebody who I see the value in restaurants and pubs and the socialisation of it, which people need these days. It's an important part of life. If you could go back to Wednesday morning before Rachel brought down her axe on nearly every small business in the country,
She's incompetent.
What could she have done on Wednesday that would have made your business grow?
I'll tell you what she could have done, what they've done in the content. First of all, they need to take the VAT down, not up. Okay, that's number one. I don't mind if the minimum wage is respected and is fine, because we are not living in 1960. Okay, when I arrived here, my wage was £7 a week. Okay, but then the travel was 1 pence. So I mean, you can £7, 100 times the travel. Okay, so all of this, there should have been reconsidered, where we have increased on gas, electricity. It's really massive. You haven't got an idea how much that costs to run a place. We have, all of us here, we have massive problem where we cannot cope any longer with the pressure of organizing ourselves to respect the customer that comes in, to give him a wonderful service, to give a food that really matters, quality that really matters.
And that's the most important thing. We've got an entrepreneur on the panel. Trey, what do you have for Giancarlo?
No, I just want to say, I mean, when you said about the whole not passing on the extras to your customers, I really got that as a landlord. I did the same thing. I didn't want to pass it on. But I just want to say, do you think in the long term it's going to be sustainable, especially with the huge squeeze that's happening with people's pockets?
Well, what we found, okay, look, the trend of the business, I can send you facts and figures, okay? I didn't get where I go by being totally silly. I really care an awful lot about everything that goes around me. And what we found, that the customers comes in, which is you, and is me too, going to another restaurant. Instead of having a glass of champagne when you arrive, you don't. You don't. Instead of a bottle of wine, you don't. So they come out because we need our restaurants. We need the pubs. It's a life. It's a lifestyle. It's an amazing business. It's theatre every day. It's so wonderful. It just has to be respected by the customers and respected by the government, which don't have no respect. They think we print money every day. No, we do not. We do not. If I tell you my day, I got up at 7 o'clock this morning and I will go to bed at 1 o'clock tonight. I've got 70, 80 booked in tonight, and I'll be going downstairs and work as hard as I can and make sure that everybody's happy and they have the little extra. We are busy because we give the little extra, but not everybody are in a position to give the little extra. And if you take the pence here and the pence there, sure, you need 15 people to break even. You got 15 people, and then what? Then you should do 25, and then you're okay. But you're depleting us you're depleting the pocket of you coming to us.
Well, Giancarlo,
so I need to go. Yes.
Final word to you.
Sorry, sir.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounds like you are a credit both to your industry, to your local community, and to the country. These are unprecedented times for small businesses, particularly restaurants and pubs. Keep on keeping on. Thank you very much for your time tonight, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, I sincerely thank you so much for giving me this time, and I promise you, I'm very proud to be in England. I'm very proud to be Italian, and I'm very proud to serve.
Where is your restaurant, Giancarlo?
One is in Bray, next to the Fat Duck and the Water Sardine, all my friends. And the other one is in Marylebone Lane called Cafe Caldesi, and also I've got a cooking school there, which is we've been there for 32 years. But ladies and gentlemen, you've been so kind, you've been so lovely to give me the space and the time to express myself. It's the very first time that I was able to express myself the way I really felt. I hope this is a message to everybody else, and thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure for us, and you've heard it there, ladies and gentlemen. Go out and get a feed at Giancarlo's restaurant. Again, it is a very, very sad story of, again, what is the social fulcrum of British society, which is coming under unprecedented attack. Still to come tonight. And an Australian senator suspended after wearing a burqa in Parliament. This is the Saturday 5 only on GBNews.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, it is actually looking fairly unsettled across parts of Europe and definitely cooler than usual. Across the Canary Islands, a risk of showers throughout the weekend and into next week. Temperatures around 18 or 19 degrees. A little bit cooler than usual across parts of Spain and Italy, just around 12 or 14 degrees. And some wet weather is pushing into parts of Greece. But actually, more eastern areas of Greece should stay relatively dry, so plenty of sunshine to come for Santorini. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The rain that we've seen through this afternoon is beginning to clear, and we will start to see some clearer skies as we head through the overnight period, and it will be a chilly one to come. But the rain that we've seen through today is because it is a low pressure system and it is slowly tracking its way towards the North Sea. It will still be quite windy across these northeastern coasts. We could still potentially see some coastal gales for a time as it does move into the early hours of Sunday morning. But elsewhere, clearer skies to come. We even have an ice warning for northern England as those temperatures will start to fall away under those clearer skies. But even away from this, we could see some frosty patches towards southern England through the early hours of Sunday morning. But for the second half of the weekend, it is going to be a pretty bright and crisp start. Once the sun does rise, there will be some nice, bright, clear skies across southern England as well. Like I said, it will be a cold start for northern England, some icy stretches, so do take care if you are looking to travel around at first thing. And we still have some wintry showers across the northern half of Scotland as well, where here it can still be rather cold and likely to see some icy patches at first thing in the morning. But through the day, that bright sunshine will continue for much of the UK. Those showers out towards those northeastern coasts will continually push their way off, and we could potentially just see some showers drifting in towards the western coast as well. All eyes will then turn towards this weather system out towards the west, but otherwise a chilly day to come. Most places around those mid-single figures for the end of the weekend. Now, much change on Monday. A large pressure system has moved in, and we do have a couple of rain warnings as well. Yellow across northwestern England, but an amber rain warning for southern Wales as well. So do take care first thing during the week. So an unsettled start to December, but for temperatures, they are slightly above average for the new season.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five, the biggest show on Saturday night television. Please get in contact with us at gbnews.com/your say. If you have a question for Ask the Five, add that in there as well. And please at the start just put in Ask the Five. From Neil in Norfolk, lovely to see Giancarlo. It really makes your heart weep when you see what this government is doing to ordinary, hard-working people. I couldn't agree more. It is, again, when you look at a budget and you look at numbers on a page, you can sometimes forget the human element. And when you speak to someone like Giancarlo and you hear how businesses are being destroyed, livelihoods are being destroyed, people are finding it harder to do the basic things they need just to live their lives with a bit of happiness and comfort, it really does break your heart. Anyway, now it's time for this. Of course, we've got a bunch of five. Auto cue, Will, what have you got for us? I will answer my own question. A shocking claim from a former BBC presenter that this is so gross, that makeup artists at the BBC have used bodily fluids on Nigel Farage as part of their makeup routine. This is not from an uncredible source. It's from best-selling author and historian Lisa Hilton, who I assume has credible sources. Farage's team condemns it, and the BBC has refused to comment on the story, perhaps unsurprisingly. I don't really know where to start with this. It is A, absolutely disgusting. B, it represents this instinct on the left not to engage in debate, discussion, but either violence or just puerile, disgusting, vulgar stuff like this. But also it goes to show that the ideological capture of the BBC doesn't just extend to the newsroom, it goes down to the makeup room. It's absolutely extraordinary. Quick comment, Renee, before we go to yours.
Yeah, you know, it also goes to show that the kind left are actually quite disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. Charlie, Renee, what have you got for us?
OK, so I wanted to actually use my Banter 5 to talk about a titan who died this week. So, sadly, Peter Whittle, the founder and director of the New Culture Forum, died. But the reason I've got it as my Banter 5, because it is just to celebrate his life. He died too young. He was creative. He was formidable. He was a fantastic orator and debater. He was a political visionary. And I say that because he saw ahead of most other people what mass migration would do and is doing to our culture. And he is a sad loss to us.
That's very well said. And don't forget, it wasn't so long ago when you were talking about things like mass migration that you were reflexively called a racist and a Nazi, and it's people like Peter who moved the Overton window now to the point where it is a valid political discussion in society. He was a wonderful man. He was a very... he had a great deal of integrity. Yep. Vale, Peter Whittle. Adam.
Yeah, so I want to talk about a story that, by the way, I never met Peter Whittle, but by all accounts, a wonderful man, and the tributes to him attest to that, so I completely align with that. But my story is back to Rachel Reeves, who's, I think, the hero of our story on the show tonight. But Rachel Reeves reportedly, first reported in the New Statesman, actually booted London Mayor Sadiq Khan out of her office after having a row over funding ahead of the budget. Now, look, I always return to the pre-election period because it's just so fascinating as a piece of history to go back and look at all these well-informed commentators saying that once Labour get in, it'll all be sunlit uplands and they'll have such stability, they'll never argue, it'll all be happy, smooth sailing. And then you have Sadiq Khan storming into the office and demanding that he gets more money, cap in hand. You know, this is supposed to be easy for me. I'm a Labour mayor coming into a Labour chancellor's office and I can't get what I want, so I'm going to throw a paddy. And fair enough, Rachel Reeves booted him out, but I just thought, look, I love this sort of stuff. I love the pantomime element of it. To be honest, it looks like he got what he wanted anyway because he's getting his tourist tax. So well done, Sadiq.
You've said that so well. I don't think any of us can add anything to that. Trey, what have you got
we
for us?
don't know if he's going to get all the money from that tourist tax, isn't it?
Well, Trey, what have you got for us?
So what I've got for you is a very, very important story. This is about the fact that screening for prostate cancer won't be made mandatory on the NHS, which I think is actually quite a sad thing, especially when you consider that we do breast cancer screening, we do cervical screening as well on the NHS, and I think it should be done. I mean,
really?
It's actually good that we've got David Cameron, Chris Hoy talking about it now, because this is something that disproportionately affects especially a lot of black men. There are some men from families where there's a hereditary incident of this as well. And I think considering it kills 12,000 men each year, it should be something that is made available on the NHS.
I'm being pushed by my producer, but I'm going to give Renee a right of reply.
I would agree with you, but you don't understand the requirements for a screening test. And unfortunately, if we mass screened every man, people would be treated and harmed who didn't need to be. And that's why the other screening tests happen. We should test...
Might save some lives, though.
We should test black men, men between 50 and 69, men with a gene and men with a family history.
Kai, what have you got for us?
It's a story you may have missed, but new levels of dystopia have been unlocked. People online can now bet on, well, but this has been going for a while, bet on different parts of Ukraine that are being captured, being entered into by Russian troops, and a new app overlaid on top of Polymarket, which is the main sort of betting exchange that allows this kind of betting, has gamified it. So you can sort of see how different live intelligence maps map onto different regions and bet on it and make money, profit off Ukrainian debts. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting, that is.
It's morbid, isn't it?
Awful.
That's all we've got time for in Bunch of 5, but still to come tonight.
That is, again, straight out of the Labour Rights playbook. If we carry on this road, it will alienate people who want to get involved in building this party.
Lord, give me strength. You're with the Sunday 5 Live on GBNews.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates,
lively conversation,
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
There's a lot of tables out there that won't just have turkey on it. There'll be turkey and ham, and but I know some people that will cook 3 or 4 different meats. And obviously the joy of having turkey is that you can then make a turkey curry for Boxing Day and the subsequent days. So, you know, you should be having days of curry after your turkey lunch. I think for the masses, it's still hugely popular. You know, through the festive period at the Dog, we will have hundreds of people having Christmas parties, and most of them will order our turkey lunch or dinner. And then Christmas Day, we could sell it probably 3 or 4 times. The demand for people to go out for the traditional turkey roast is still massive. But hey, look, if you don't like a roast lunch, then why force yourself to have it on the, you know, probably one of the most important meals of the day in terms of bringing family together.
What about Sophie's point, Mark, about cost and spending £30, £40 on turkey? That is simply too expensive for lots of people.
Yeah, I'll never be able to defend or debate that. You know, I know more than anyone the challenges around food inflation, and a good turkey has become a huge cost. But I still think where people can afford the tradition, the joy of coming together, sharing a big turkey roast meal it's a brilliant Christmas tradition. But yeah, the food inflation, that's something we've talked about a number of times, isn't it? You know, it's crippling our business and it's crippling people at homes. I suppose the key thing to look at is if you know what you're doing with it, a good turkey will feed the family for many days. It's not just one meal.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Coming up from 8 p.m, it's Ask the 5. Send your questions in through gbnews.com/yoursay. Just remember to put Ask the 5 at the front of your particular question. But now it's time for Triggered Tantrums. I know we say it's our favourite kind of segment of the week, and then we go on to say that the next segment is our favourite one of the week, but there's no two ways about it. It's a cracking segment because it gets better and better every single week. I'm going to kick us off, I believe, and geez, they just keep providing more and more content, the gender ideologues, don't they? We've got a clip here coming up, which I believe I will have to commentate, which, you know, it's always been my dream, actually, to be a sports commentator. Unfortunately, I've got to be a Triggered Tantrums commentator. This is I don't know what pronouns I'm going to try and use, but basically holding up a certificate which says that he, she, they, them has a cervix. Now, luckily, we have a doctor on the panel.
Yes.
No, I've just got a question, Dr. Renee. Can a biological man have a cervix?
Don't be ridiculous.
Don't
be ridiculous. But that's not actually what he's doing. I'm going to tell you what he's doing. He's holding up a letter inviting him to cervical screening because he's gone into the NHS system, erased his past as a man, gone down as a woman, so the automatic system has now invited him to have a cervical screen. I'd love to see it happen. And he's really proud.
What do you make of this, Kai? Surely you must recognise this is ridiculous.
The TikToks are ridiculous, yes.
So you think we should invite men for cervical screening? Let's just clarify.
Sorry?
We should invite men for cervical screening.
I think everybody with a cervix should be invited
Well, men
to a
don't have
cervix
cervix.
screening. But I think, clarity of language is important, and so I think you should just use the word woman, of course. I've always said that.
So men should not be getting letters inviting them to cervical screening?
No biological men, no.
It seems like he's just having a bit of fun with it, though, guys. I don't know if it's that deep that he's celebrating it.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought we were past this stuff with the Cass review with the Supreme Court decision. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that's the case. Renee, what have you got for us?
Oh, I just can't cope with Trey. That's what I've got.
That's your first trigger tantrum. What's your second trigger tantrum?
Renee's having a debate. You've got to have different views.
OK, there is a politician in Australia who Will knows better than me, who this week wore a burqa to Parliament because she wanted to put up a debate about banning the burqa and it was denied. So to make her point, she wore a burqa to Parliament. Have a look. I mean, the funniest response was that they just went into meltdown.
Yes.
Could not cope with a woman who was not a Muslim wearing a burqa. So what they did is they suspended her from Parliament for 7 days. They had the tantrum in the end.
Yeah, Pauline Hanson basically was Farage and Trump before Farage and Trump. She is arguably the most consequential Australian politician of the 21st century. She saw the whole problems around multiculturalism and identity politics before arguably anyone else. There is a great irony, isn't there, Adam, in actually a debate on banning the burqa, saying that we should not ban the burqa, but then when someone wears a burqa, they are banned from Parliament.
This is why parliamentary systems are so much more fun than anything else. You get the pantomime, you get the theatre experience in politics. I mean, we get a little bit of this in the UK when MPs grab the mace and whatever, but I've never seen anything like that. That is fantastic entertainment.
Australia can produce a particular type of politician that the UK just can't.
No, fair
produce.
point. Yeah, it's quite comical though when you watch them.
Yeah,
it's. I'm not going to say it's a good thing, but it's a unique part of the Australian political fabric that we can produce people like Pauline Hanson. We had someone called Bob Catter on the show about 3 months ago who threatened to punch a reporter after he was accused of being part Lebanese. What a wonderful country it is. Again, started from a penal colony.
At least it makes Parliament more interesting.
It makes Parliament so much more interesting. And look, at least she's making a point. And when you look at Parliament in this country at the moment, whenever Keir Starmer gets up, basically what he does is he just blames the Conservatives for 14 years of failure. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Saturday 5 Extra is coming up next. It's going to be so much fun.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, this is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The rain that we've seen through this afternoon is beginning to clear and we will start to see some clearer skies as we head through the overnight period. And it will be a chilly one to come, but the rain that we've seen through today is because of this low pressure system and it is slowly tracking its way towards the North Sea. It will still be quite windy across these northeastern coasts. We could still potentially see some coastal gales for a time as it does move into the early hours of Sunday morning. But elsewhere, clearer skies to come. We even have an ice warning for northern England as those temperatures will start to fall away under those clearer skies. But even away from this, we could see some frosty patches towards southern England through the early hours of Sunday morning. But for the second half of the weekend, it is going to be a pretty bright and crisp start. Once the sun does rise, there will be some nice, bright, clear skies across southern England as well. Like I said, it will be a cold start for northern England, some icy stretches, so do take care if you are looking to travel around at first thing. And we still have some wintry showers across the northern half of Scotland as well. Where here, it can still be rather cold and likely to see some icy patches at first thing in the morning. But through the day, that bright sunshine will continue for much of the UK. Those showers out towards those northeastern coasts will continually push their way off, and we could potentially just see some showers drifting in towards the western coast as well. All eyes will then turn towards this weather system out towards the west, but otherwise a chilly day to come. Most places around those mid-single figures for the end of the weekend. Now, much change on Monday. A large pressure system has moved in, and we do have a couple of rain warnings as well. Yellow across northwestern England, but an amber rain warning for southern Wales as well. So do take care first thing during the week. So an unsettled start to December, but for temperatures, they are slightly above average for the new season.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the greatest cash prize of a Great British giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Saturday night and this is the Saturday Five, but in extra form. It's the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Will Kingston, along with Dr. Renee Hunderkamp, Trey Lowe, Adam Cherry and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show, as we approach the festive season, we're going to be sharing our favourite Christmas films in High Five.
Is it possible to age backwards?
And should Tom Skinner be the next Chancellor? That's an Ask for Five.
Round them all up. Put them in a big room that kind of looks like it could be a gas chamber.
And some crazy triggered tantrums coming your way.
That is, again, straight out of the Labour Rights playbook. If we carry on this road, it will alienate people who want to get involved in building this party.
Yes, Britain's
We're all in
greatest political project. Your party's conference is off to a great start.
Yes, sorry, I had to interrupt you because, you know, you're all part of the same
You just love
team.
your party.
In any case, it's 8 p.m, it's the Sunday 5 Extra. Anything could happen. Welcome to 8 p.m, Sunday 5 Extra. And of course, as usual, we want to know your views as well. We'll be answering your questions in Ask the Five in this hour. Please send them through. Get that little Ask the Five caveat. Caveat? Would that be the right word? Yeah. Yeah, let's put that there. Caveat before you put your question in. gbnews.com/your
English
say.
is getting so much better.
Again, as I've said, the Australian education system leaves a bit to be desired. Before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news.
Good evening. It's just on 8 o'clock. These are your headlines. Working families will be £18,000 worse off than jobless parents claiming benefits following Rachel Reeves' abolition of the two-child cap in the budget. That's according to new analysis. The report from the Centre for Social Justice has found a family with 3 children claiming universal credit, combined with other benefits, will receive up to £46,000 by next year. In comparison, a family with 1 adult working full-time and another part-time on the national living wage, they will see a take-home earning of £28,000. It comes as the Tories have called for the Chancellor to resign after she was accused of misleading the public over the state of the country's finances, something Number 10 denies. The party has set up a website, sackreeves.com, and launched a petition urging Sir Keir Starmer to sack her. Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, said Miss Reeves had to go because honesty matters. Elsewhere, your party has denied Zara Sultana's claims that its culture is toxic and her suggestion she's being pushed out. It's after the Coventry South MP boycott day one of the meeting over the expulsion of some members of left-wing groups. Miss Sultana met with party members outside the ACC today, but she said she will not be entering the main conference centre in protest at a, quote, witch hunt. In other news, Ukrainian delegates are heading to the US to continue negotiations on proposals to end its war with Russia. Reports suggest Donald Trump could recognise occupied Ukrainian territories as Russian in his bid to broker peace between the two countries. A US team are expected to hold discussions in Moscow next week. Back in the UK, the Home Secretary has banned asylum seekers from using taxis to attend medical appointments. Shabana Mahmood says billions of taxpayers' money is being wasted on these trips. It's after a BBC investigation found some asylum seekers have used taxis to travel hundreds of miles to see a GP, costing the government hundreds of pounds. The new rules, which come into force in February, will restrict taxis to use only the most exceptional evidence-based cases, such as a physical disability, pregnancy or serious illness. Those journeys would also need to be approved by the Home Office. Now, the man arrested in connection with the terrorist attack at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue will be held for a further 7 days. It's after a warrant of further detention was granted, meaning he can now be held until Thursday, the 4th of December. The man was arrested at Manchester Airport on Thursday, the 27th of November, on suspicion of commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. And playwright Sir Tom Stoppard, who won an Oscar and a Golden Globe for the screenplay for Shakespeare in Love, has died at the age of 44. The Czech-born British screenwriter passed away peacefully at his Dorset home, surrounded by his family. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 Extra. It's time for us to let our hair down, but more importantly, to interact with the most important people in this show, and that is you, our audience, in Ask the Five. Before we actually get to a question from Declan that I can see there, I've just had one pop up in the corner of my eye, which I find quite intriguing. It's from Claire, and she admits this is a difficult question before she asks it. Ask the five, if you could sack just one Labor government minister, which Labor government minister are you sacking? Renee?
I'm sacking Keir Starmer because he's in charge. The buck stops with him.
Okay.
Ed Miliband.
Oh,
Ed Miliband.
oh.
Yeah. One of the most nutty ideology. Well, I'm sure he's a nice guy personally, but ideologically, case. The net zero agenda that he's pushing, it's just a disaster. It'll make. We're supposed to have 300 quid off our bills at some point. I'm waiting for that to show up on my bill from Oxford Energy.
But they've gone up by 500.
Trey, I know you're comfortable on that fence there, so don't feel like you have to sack anyone if you don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it'll make a difference, but I guess I'd also go for Starmer because I actually, as someone who's in the middle, who's pretty much undecided in terms of voting, I'd want to see fresh blood with Labour, whoever's going to go up against Farage, and they will be going up against Farage. I'd like to see someone new do that.
That's a predictable answer. Kai.
Next question.
Come on, Kai.
Well,
just choose someone.
Let me rephrase it for you. How would you improve the party that you love so dearly?
Sacking the Prime Minister.
I think that's the most popular thing you've ever said on this show.
It's all right. It's all right. As I wrote months ago, and nobody from Number 10 tends to watch this show. They're completely ignorant in that comms unit, it seems to me, and it starts at the top, and change must begin there.
I think that's well said. For what it's worth, I agree with Adam. I would be going for Ed Miliband. I think the damage he is doing to this country is absolutely disastrous. But from Declan, second Ask the Five question, should David Lammy face repercussions for replacing the portrait of the late Queen with Pan-African flags?
I misread your autocue as saying, should he face reparations? That would be quite ironic.
He certainly has put the request through in the past. Renee?
I think that for most people in life, we should be free to express ourselves however we want because freedom of speech is important. I would like to think that we would put in a government who respected our late Queen and our monarchy and wouldn't do this kind of thing. But I do respect his right to do it.
Yeah, I don't think we should start policing how a man decorates his office. Yeah. We've got bigger problems, I think.
Trey?
Yeah, I mean, he shouldn't face reprimands at all, but I think he should have left the picture of the Queen, or at least the King, personally.
It shows us what they are.
Yeah, no, I agree with this lot, surprisingly. Will, surely you have a different view. You want to go out on a limb here?
I don't think he should be sacked for that. I think he should be sacked for gross incompetence. But what I would say is it is one of the most disgusting, morally abhorrent, atrocious acts of symbolism I can recall in recent memory.
Is that all you'll say?
God. It is
pretty nicely, actually.
I'm sorry. She was the greatest woman of the 20th century, with Thatcher as a close second, and it is absolutely disgraceful that he would do that all in the name of identity politics and symbolism. I just think it says so much about this morally bankrupt government. Next question. This comes from Glenn.
Speaking of morally bankrupt.
From Glenn, should Tom Skinner be Chancellor?
No.
No. Go on, Trey.
No.
Well, okay. The answer to this question.
I mean, he'd probably be better than me.
I have been prompted by my producer that there may be more to this because as it stood, it was quite a. We've got the clip. Let's see the clip.
How on earth they can go after the pensions is beyond me. People have worked hard their whole lives, paid in, done the right thing, and now they're getting taxed. I don't think that's right, personally. People like myself would do a better job because look, I don't know what it's like not to have the rent at the end of the month, and yet I know what it's like when you are in front. I know both spectrums, and I just think more people with more understanding of the real world, like myself, should be in power. Do you know what I mean? You need to understand the people really better, not sort of guesswork, which is what we're getting from this Labour government, if I'll be honest.
So I did Thomas a disservice there because I did not provide full context. That was on Nana's show hosted by Alex this afternoon. Okay. So I will re-ask the question, should Thomas Skinner be the next Chancellor?
Can I say one thing on... It's true that the Labour backbenchers, in particular, there is a lack of experience. A third of them are from the charity sector. A third. of the 2024 intake, and that's not to say that all of them are bad, right? But I think there is groupthink, and we need more business people in the Labour Party as a whole and in Parliament. Is Tom Skinner the right person to be Chancellor? Still, I think no.
As someone who's on the same show as him, I would say if I could choose someone from The Apprentice, it would be Lord Sugar himself. I think he's someone that's been longer in business, knows his stuff a lot more. But Tom, I mean, I think he's had a bad rap, to be honest, with those Strictly stuff. But Chancellor, nah, can't see it.
Yeah, well, look, I do think Kai makes a lot of sense in what he's saying in that this is not, well, you know, I'm the host tonight.
Even a stopped clock is right once a day.
Twice a day.
There you go. There we go then.
The rise of the career politician, not just in the UK but across the Western world, has been disastrous for the quality of politics, and you know the Labor government is a great example of that.
It's no surprise, given that anything you do in politics in the UK at the minute, it's a residing issue.
Exactly, and that's one of the issues.
They did this, they should resign.
Give people a little bit of time.
They should resign.
And you started that,
Didn't fill the form, they should resign.
You started that. It's true, the lefties were quite fond of all that cancel culture, to be fair. But I think people are not giving enough time.
That is the result of DEI, let's face it. I mean, this is a man who thinks that men can grow cervixes and that Marie Antoinette invented the X-ray.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a genius that we have, and I think in government we do want our brightest and our best.
There is literally a Labor government as we speak trying to call up a 13-year-old on silly comments they may or may not have said in the playground 50 years ago. That may go some way to explaining why people don't want to go into politics. Anyway.
I think there's a little bit of a gulf, Will, between making gas chamber jokes and not filling in a form.
13 years old. Next question from Linda. What do you make of the latest Your Party chaos? Renee?
I mean, look, it's really fun to watch.